Well, hello and welcome. I'm Miss Heard with Miss Heard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're with Season 5, Episode 230, doing a duet Miss Heard song lyric. The Miss Heard lyric is, "'Cause losing everything is like your sun going down on me." And then the correct lyrics is, "'Cause losing everything is like the sun going down on me." You guessed it, we're doing a misheard song lyric with Elton John's song, but with duet with George Michael from the Live Aid performance back in 1985. Wow, it's a long time ago. The last time I actually did a misheard song lyric with Elton John, just only Elton John, recently was when I aired an episode back on August 9th, 2023. It was season 4, episode 206, and I was able to do a misheard song lyric with his Goodbye Yellow Brick Road song. And then the last time I did a George Michael misheard song lyric podcast episode was way back on December 22nd, 2021. So already 2 years ago. I thought it was just like last year. That was season 3, episode 121. And it was Wham's Last Christmas instead of, I think, the misheard lyric was "A crowded room, friends with tie-dye." It's really "A crowded room, friends with tired eyes." So it's been a bit for at least George Michael, so we'll touch into him a bit, but let's just sink our teeth right into this. So "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me" is a song written by English musician Elton John, or Sir Elton John, and of course his famous songwriter partner Bernie Taupin. It was originally recorded by Elton John for his 8th studio album during a 10-day period back in January of 1974. So it's hit its 50th year. Wow, because we're in January of 2024, along with other songs for Elton John's Caribou album. The song was released as the first single from that album back in May of 1974 in the UK, and on June 10th, 1974 in the United States, and that peaked at number 2 at the Billboard Hot 100 chart and reached number 16 in the UK singles chart. What I didn't know, and maybe you knew or maybe you didn't, is the chorus of the song features backing vocals, the original song, by Carl Wilson and Bruce Johnston of the Beach Boys and Toni Tennille. So names sound familiar? So apparently the story was the original backing vocalists were supposed to be Cat Stevens, that's crazy, Danny Hutton, Jerry Beckley, Dusty Springfield, and Brian Wilson. But according to Bruce Johnston of the Beach Boys, everyone, quote unquote, was afraid of one another, and I couldn't get a performance out of anyone. And then I found an actual story on songfacts.com that said Toni Tennille and Daryl Dragon, who later would have several hits as their own TV show, I know them as Captain and Tennille, performed on this. And the idea was to have a huge chorus made up of semi-famous singers in the background. Dusty Springfield, as well as members of America and Three Dog Night, recorded vocals for the song, but all the voices sounded terrible when they mixed them together, so they just used Wilson, Johnston, and Tennille. Now you know. I had no idea until I was doing the research. So let's fast forward to 1985 when Sir Elton John does the duet with George Michael. So the pair had first performed the song at the Live Aid concert in 1985 with Michael singing and John playing, featuring backing vocals by George Michael's fellow Wham partner and bestie, Andrew Ridgeley, and Kiki Dee. Now, does Kiki Dee sound familiar? Yes, it does. She did a very famous duet with Sir Elton John as well. It's her biggest hit. It came in 1976. She actually replaced Dusty Springfield. Dusty it must be in this grouping of friends with Elton John. And so what happened was supposed to have Dusty Springfield singing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" with Elton John, but apparently she was not feeling great, so they said, "Kiki, come on in." And the rest is history. And of course, it was written by Elton John and lyricist Bernie Taupin as well. But they say here they use a pseudonym, so that's interesting. So that's why Kiki Dee was also at the Live Aid concert in 1985 singing backup vocals for this duet. And speaking of this duet, the single reached number 1 in both the UK and US, remaining at the top for 6 weeks in the UK. Now, 6 years later, George Michael's cover-to-cover tour regularly included this song, and for the final show at Wembley Arena, London, back on March 23rd in 1991, George Michael actually brought out John as a surprise guest to sing with them, so the crowd went crazy. And then during Elton John's debut appearance at the Glastonbury Festival back on June 25th, 2023, Elton John dedicated the song to Michael because that was his birthday, June 25th. Had he still been alive, he would have been 60 that day in his headline set. So, getting the feels there. So let's talk a little bit about George Michael, because I didn't get to talk to him way back when, a couple years ago, when I did the Wham podcast episode. So George Michael was born Georgios Kyriakos Panatayo. Sorry, it's a Greek name. And like I said, he was born on June 25th, 1963, and then died, sadly, on Christmas Day, the 25th, back in 2016. So this year, in 2024, this is where it's recorded for this episode, it will be, 8 years ago that he passed away. He was an English singer, songwriter, and record producer, and one of the best-selling musicians of all time. His sales were right between 100 million to 125 million records worldwide. He was definitely well-known in popular music. I grew up with him, especially from Wham and on. He's also known as the creative force in songwriting, vocal performance, and visual presentation, and achieved 10 number one songs on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 and 13 number one songs in the UK singles chart. He has won numerous music awards, including 2 Grammy Awards, 3 Brit Awards, 12 Billboard Music Awards, and 4 MTV Video Music Awards. And he was listed among Billboard's greatest 100 artists of all time, and Rolling Stone's the 200 greatest singers of all time. And the Radio Academy named him the most played artist on British radio during the period of 1984 to 2004. That's a long span there. Did you know that he was also inducted to our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 2023, so after his death, but it did happen last year. Now, he was born in East Finchley, Middlesex. He rose to fame after forming, like I said, the duo I grew up with, Wham, with Andrew Ridgeley in 1981. Their first 2 albums came in 1983 called Fantastic, and then 1984's Make It Big, which was the first cassette tape, yours truly here, bought with my own money. It reached number 1 on the US Billboard 200 and UK albums chart. They had also commercial success with singles Wham Rap, Enjoy What You Do, I love that, Young Guns, Go For It, Bad Boys, Club Tropicana. If you haven't seen that video, watch it. It's visually stunning. Wake Me Up Before You Go, Last Christmas, which was the podcast episode I did 2 years ago, misheard, Everything She Wants, Freedom, and I'm Your Man. Then they did a 1985 tour in China, which was the first by any Western pop music act, and generated worldwide media coverage. That's amazing. Then George Michael took part in Band Aid's UK number 1 single, Do They Know It's Christmas, in 1984. And of course, what we're talking here in 1985, he also sang this duet with Sir Elton John at the Live Aid concert. Now, George Michael's first solo career was Careless Whisper in 1984. It reached number 1 in over 20 countries, including the UK and US. And then the second solo single, A Different Corner, also reached number 1 in 86. I don't remember that one, so I'll have to check that out. And then after Wham disbanded in 1986, that year, Michael released the number 1 duet with Aretha Franklin, Knew You Were Waiting For Me. I love that. And then he did his debut album, Faith, in 1987. That's when you start to see the look, his iconic leather jacket with cowboy boots, I think, with sometimes shirtless with his Ray-Bans. And then he now has the beard, the trimmed beard. And apparently Faith stayed at number 1 on the Billboard 200 for 12 weeks and topped the UK albums chart. It's one of the best-selling albums of all time, having sold over 25 million copies worldwide. Wow. Its singles include Faith, Father Figure, One More Try, and Monkey reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. And then Michael became the best-selling music artist of 1988, and Faith was awarded Album of the Year and the 1989 Grammy Awards. And I remember it well because I'm here in the Northwest, the upper left side of the United States, and George Michael did his Faith tour, and yours truly, I was there. I have pictures of it secretly and got to see him perform. He's a great performer. And then he had a second solo album called Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1 that came out in 1990. It was also number 1 in the UK and yielded the Billboard Hot 100 number 1, Praying for Time, and the worldwide hit Freedom 90. I love that. And then Michael went on to release a series of multi-million selling albums, including Older in 1996, Ladies and Gentlemen, The Best of George Michael in 1998, Songs from the Last Century in 1999, Patience in 2004, 25 in 2006. The albums earned him multiple hits such as Jesus to a Child that he did write to his former lover, Fast Love, Outside Amazing, and Easier Affair. And as I mentioned, former lover, Michael came out as officially gay in 1998 and was an active LGBT rights campaigner and HIV/AIDS charity fundraiser. And that song, Jesus to a Child, he wrote to his lover who passed away from AIDS, unfortunately. Now, unfortunately for also George Michael, he had a checkered personal life. He had some problems with drug use, legal troubles because of his, not once, but twice, doing public lewdness in the first time in a bathroom in Beverly Hills. And then he did it again years later. And then multiple drug-related offenses. He had a 2005 documentary, A Different Story, that covered his career and personal life. I saw it, and I just forgot how much that I just loved him because his voice was amazing. And, you know, the tortured life he had was not being his authentic self for so long. And then he had a 25 live tour that spanned 3 tours from 2006 to 2008. Wow. He did fell into a coma in 2011 during a bout with pneumonia, but later recovered. And then it says here his last performance, final concert, was at London's Earl's Court back in 2012. He died on Christmas Day in 2016 of heart disease at his home on Thames, Oxfordshire. So that's in a nutshell, who George Michael is. How did the people respond with this duet? Because it was a famous song already on its own, but again, you add George Michael. It was released as a single later that year. The song reached #1 on both sides of the Atlantic, spending 2 weeks at #1 at the UK singles chart in December of 91, and 1 week on the Billboard Hot 100 chart dated February 1, 1992. It did quite well. The duet also spent 2 weeks at #1 at the adult contemporary chart. So it spanned in different genres of the awards or the charts. This version of the song was also nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Pop Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group with a Vocal. It also appears on Elton John's Love Songs and Greatest Hits from 1970 and 2002 and Diamonds compilations, as well as his 1993 Duets album. The proceeds from the single were divided among 10 charities for children, AIDS, and education. That's lovely. And if you haven't seen the 1985 Live Aid video, just check it out on YouTube. It was uploaded on YouTube back on September 21st, 2018. So now it's going to be hitting, 6 years? It's now roughly at 11 million views. Can you believe that? And at that time, George Michael is a young 22, and he's at his pre-1987 Faith look. So he has a leather jacket here, black Ray-Bans, coiffed hair and beard, but not the full transition yet. That won't happen until 1987. And it's him and Sir Elton John performing at the Live Aid in front of 72,000 people in Wembley Stadium, London, back on July 13th, 1985. I watched it on TV, at least on the US feed. The event was organized by Sir Bob Geldof of the Boomtown Rats and Mid-Uri to raise funds for the Ethiopian famine disaster. And it was broadcasted all over the world, and it said one of the largest satellite link-ups of all time. The concerts were seen by around 40% of the global population. Amazing. So now you know about the misheard song lyric. It is not, don't let your sun go down on me, but don't let the sun. And the amazing life and sad tragedy of George Michael. We lost him so soon, but we get to at least hear his beautiful music through YouTube and other genres. So if you have any great misheard song lyric suggestion like this one, please send it to any of our sites like X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Of course, you can send it to me via just regular Gmail or email at misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com. Till then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.